You've been taught that you're basically this insignificant little human, and the whole Big Bang theory and everything's just, nothing has meaning, and everything is nihilism. Everything happens by chance. And, I'm not going to get into it. All I'm going to say is that the mainstream literature on evolution and science and life in general is it lacks a spiritual undercurrent. Hope that makes sense. Excuse me. Merkaba mysticism is a school of early Jewish mysticism centered on visions such as those found in the book of Ezekiel. The Merkaba is in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. The Merkaba is also known as the chariot. It's the chariot of God. The chariot of, it literally is a chariot. It can be used to travel from different dimensions to different regions on Earth. This is beautiful. We need to change the world so that we can all get back into these Atlantean states of consciousness, and just like 150 in these states of consciousness, we could literally fix the problems here in this world almost instantaneously. In fact, when you're in your Merkaba, you can actually affect the weather, ladies and gentlemen. You can clean the weather. How do I know this? Because I've experienced it directly. I'm not saying that I'm in these states of consciousness. All I'm saying that I've experienced them for brief glimpses of time in my early 20s on a handful of different occasions. I was allowed to experience these states of consciousness, the Kundalini, the Merkaba, the aura. I was allowed to see the truth. And it's just incredible. It's absolutely amazing what we can do with our bodies and our minds when we're in a state where we can actually be who we are and not be these programmed bitches who've been programmed by the Great Archon. It's insane. I am a Gnostic, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that there is a malevolent entity, a malevolent force in this dimension right now that has hijacked our thoughts, taken our divine mind and replaced it with an ego, and it feeds on our energy field. I've talked about this in a handful of videos here on the Patreon page about Gnosis. Go back into my video archives if you're interested in learning more. There is a malevolent force here, ladies and gentlemen, that is using human beings, that is using the animal kingdom, that is destroying the earth through something, again, like I mentioned earlier, known as ecocide, which is the deliberate destruction of the earth. So, Kundalini showed me that we live in the underworld. That is one of the secrets that Kundalini taught me, that we actually live in the underworld. So I'm going to bring up something on the screen right now, ladies and gentlemen. Underworld. What is the underworld? The underworld is the world of the dead in various religious traditions, located below the world of the living. The concept of an underworld is found in almost every civilization and may be as old as humanity itself. Common features of underworld myths are accounts of living people making journeys to the underworld, often for some heroic purpose. Other myths reinforce traditions that entrance of soul. It's hard for me to see my screen so far away. Other myths reinforce traditions that entrance of souls to the underworld requires entrance. Wow, how did I mess that up? Other myths reinforce traditions that entrance of souls to the underworld requires a proper observation of ceremony, such as the ancient Greek story of the recently dead Patroclus haunting Achilles until the body could be properly buried for the purpose. Anyways, what is the underworld? I'll give you my definition. The underworld, ladies and gentlemen, is a world between worlds. It is a world where we are partially dead, and we are all partially dead, whether people want to admit that or not. How do I know that? Well, we're partially dead because we only use a small percentage of our potential. We have something that I've talked about in a recent video here on Patreon called junk DNA. We have all of these layers of DNA that are not properly coding and not actually working to their fullest capacity. It's just kind of operating in limbo. It's kind of operating in autopilot. We use less than 10% of our brain. I believe that's been scientifically proven. I'm not going to say with 100% certainty that it has, but I'm almost positive that it has, ladies and gentlemen. We are existing in a fraction of our potential, and therefore we are partially dead, because if you're not completely living, then how can you be alive? Sure, you may be living to the point where your heart's beating enough to keep you alive. You may be alive enough to be able to go to work every day and pay your taxes. But are you alive enough to actually be living what you were designed to be experiencing, which is enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not saying that we're going to be able to get there in our lifetime. I'm not saying that we're going to be able to heal this dimension in our lifetimes, but we can at least propel the next generations forward through, or we can do our best to help. Let's just put it that way. We are existing in the underworld. The Kundalini showed me that. The Kundalini actually told me that. And some very intimate astral projection experiences with the lunar sphere and the angels of the Enochian angels told me that, dude, you're in the underworld. That's where you are. So many people want to fight about, do we live on a flat earth? Do we live on a circular earth? Do we live... We're living in the underworld. That's the truth of the situation, ladies and gentlemen. We are existing in a world beneath the living. The living is to truly become alive, you have to merge with the divine through Kundalini and experience the angelic kingdoms. That's when you're truly alive. Living at a fraction of your potential is not truly life, ladies and gentlemen. And you can't really become alive until the Holy Spirit moves through you and baptizes your soul with the fire of Kundalini. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, why did I bring up the whole underworld thing? Well, because we're living in the land of the dead.